There's a reason pasta has been one of America's most loved dinners for as long as most of us can remember. It's warm, it's filling, it's the kind of meal that makes the whole kitchen smell good the minute you start cooking. And it has a way of turning an ordinary evening into something that feels a little more taken care of. But somewhere along the way, pasta got complicated. You look up a recipe online and suddenly you need 12 ingredients, 3 different pans, and an hour of your time just to get dinner on the table. That's not how pasta is supposed to work. The best pasta dinners have always been the simple ones. The ones where you don't need a recipe card because the whole thing comes together with a few good ingredients and a little bit of heat. That's exactly what this video is about. 5 pasta dinners that are easy to make, deeply comforting, and honestly ready in under 20 minutes from the moment you walk into the kitchen to the moment you sit down to eat. Before we get into the recipes, there's one small tip that applies to every single pasta dish you'll hear today, and it's something a lot of people don't think about. When you drain your pasta, save a cup of the starchy water it cooked in before you pour it through the strainer. That water is full of starch from the pasta. And if your sauce needs to be loosened up or made a little creamier, a splash of that water does the job better than anything else. You won't always need it, but when you do, you'll be glad you saved it. Just set a mug in the sink before you drain and scoop some out. It takes 2 seconds, and it can make the difference between a good pasta and a great one. The first dinner on this list is one of those meals that tastes as if it came from a restaurant, even though it's made in a single pot with about 6 ingredients. Creamy garlic Parmesan pasta. You start by melting 2 tablespoons of butter in a large pot or deep skillet over medium heat. Once the butter is melted, add a few cloves of minced garlic and stir it around for about a minute until your kitchen starts to smell incredible. Then pour in 2 cups of chicken broth and 1 cup of milk, and bring the whole thing up to a boil. As soon as it's boiling, add about half a pound of angel hair pasta right into the pot. You don't need to cook the pasta separately because it's going to cook directly in the broth and milk, which means it absorbs all of that garlicky, buttery flavor as it softens. Let it simmer for about 4 to 5 minutes, stirring occasionally so the noodles don't stick together. And once the pasta is tender and most of the liquid has been absorbed, turn the heat down to low and stir in a generous handful of grated Parmesan cheese, along with another tablespoon of butter. The cheese melts into the sauce and turns everything silky and creamy, and the pasta comes out coated in a sauce so rich you'd never guess how little effort it took. The whole thing is done in about 15 minutes. There's only 1 pot to wash, and it's the kind of meal you'll want to make again the very next week. The second dinner is the simplest one on this entire list, and honestly, sometimes simple is exactly what you want. Buttered egg noodles with Parmesan. Fill a pot with water, bring it to a boil, and cook a bag of wide egg noodles according to the time on the package, which is usually about 8 to 10 minutes. While the noodles are boiling, you don't need to do anything except get out your butter and cheese. Once the noodles are tender, drain them and put them back in the same pot. Add a few tablespoons of butter and toss the noodles until the butter is completely melted and every noodle is coated. Sprinkle in some grated Parmesan cheese, a little salt and pepper, and give it one more good toss. That's the whole dinner. If you have some fresh parsley, you can chop a little over the top for color, but it's completely optional. Wide egg noodles have a soft, pillowy texture that holds butter beautifully. And when you add that salty Parmesan on top, the whole bowl becomes something that feels like a warm hug on a plate. This is one of those meals that people sometimes feel almost embarrassed to admit they love because it's so simple, but there's a reason it has been on dinner tables for generations. It's comfort food at its purest, and it takes about 12 minutes from the time you turn on the burner. The third dinner is probably the most familiar pasta meal in American cooking, and this version gets it on the table in about 20 minutes without sacrificing any of the flavor you expect. Spaghetti with quick meat sauce. Put a pot of water on to boil for your spaghetti, and while the water is heating up, set a large skillet on medium-high heat. Add about a pound of ground beef to the skillet and break it up with a spoon as it browns. Once the meat starts to get some color on it, Toss in a small diced onion and a couple of cloves of minced garlic and cook everything together for another 2 or 3 minutes until the onion softens. Then pour in a jar of your favorite marinara sauce, stir it into the beef, and let the whole thing simmer on low while your spaghetti finishes cooking. By the time you drain the pasta, the sauce has had about 10 minutes to simmer with the meat, and it tastes like it's been on the stove for an hour. Serve the spaghetti with a big spoonful of meat sauce on top and a little Parmesan if you like it. The jarred sauce does the heavy lifting here, and there's no shame in that at all because a good marinara from the store is a perfectly fine starting point. The brown beef, the garlic, and the thyme on the stove elevate it into something that genuinely tastes homemade. And the whole meal comes together in the time it takes to boil a pot of water and brown some meat. The fourth dinner is one that almost everybody loves, and most people assume is harder to make from scratch than it actually is. Stovetop mac and cheese. Put a pot of water on to boil and cook about 8 ounces of elbow macaroni until it's tender, which usually takes about 8 minutes. While the macaroni is cooking, warm half a cup of milk with 2 tablespoons of butter in a small saucepan over low heat, just until the butter melts and the milk is warm. You're not trying to boil it or do anything fancy with it. You're just getting it warm enough so the cheese will melt smoothly when you add it. Once your macaroni is cooked and drained, put it back in the pot, pour the warm milk and butter mixture over it, and add about 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Stir everything together over low heat until the cheese melts completely and coats every piece of pasta in a smooth, creamy sauce. Add a little salt and pepper to taste, and you're done. The whole process takes about 15 minutes, and what you end up with is a bowl of mac and cheese that tastes worlds better than anything that comes out of a box. The key is using real shredded cheese rather than the pre-shredded kind in bags, because the bagged cheese has a coating on it that can make the sauce a little grainy instead of smooth. If you take an extra minute to shred a block of cheddar by hand, you'll notice the difference immediately. This is the mac and cheese you remember from the best versions you've ever had, and it takes almost no more effort than the boxed kind. The fifth and final dinner is the kind of warm, creamy, one-skillet meal that feels like it was made for a cold evening when you want something that fills you up and makes everything feel a little better. Creamy chicken noodle skillet. The secret to making this fast is using a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, which is already cooked, already seasoned, and ready to be pulled apart the moment you get it home. Start by cooking about 8 ounces of wide egg noodles in a pot of boiling water until they're tender, then drain them and set them aside. In a large skillet over medium heat, combine 1 can of cream of chicken soup with about half a cup of chicken broth, stirring them together until smooth. Add a cup or so of frozen peas and carrots right from the bag. No need to thaw them first, and let the mixture warm through for about 3 or 4 minutes. Then add a couple of cups of shredded rotisserie chicken and the cooked egg noodles to the skillet and stir everything together until the noodles and chicken are fully coated in that creamy sauce. Let it cook for another 2 or 3 minutes until everything is hot all the way through, and that's dinner. It tastes like a cross between chicken noodle soup and a creamy casserole, which is about as comforting as food gets. The rotisserie chicken means there's no cooking or seasoning raw meat. The frozen vegetables go straight from the freezer into the skillet. And the cream of chicken soup creates a sauce that's rich and savory without you having to make anything from scratch. About 18 minutes from the time you start boiling the water, and the only thing left to clean is 1 pot and 1 skillet. Every dinner on this list was chosen because it's the kind of meal that actually makes you want to sit down and eat. Not because it's trendy or impressive to look at, but because it's warm. It's satisfying, and it tastes the way dinner is supposed to taste when someone who knows what they're doing puts it together with care. None of them requires any special skills or hard-to-find ingredients, and none of them asks you to stand over a stove for longer than it takes to enjoy the process of making something good. If you've been stuck in a dinner routine and need something simple to shake it up, any one of these 5 will do the job. Pick the one that sounds best to you tonight, and you'll be eating in 20 minutes or less.